man, yo, One Piece chapter 843. Oh my god, yo. Oh my god. So this is officially starting Luffy versus Sanji. Oh my god. This is like around chapter, what, 330, 31, 32, 33, somewhere around there, where you had Luffy versus Usopp. Like, I've been calling like Luffy versus Zoro, but Luffy versus Sanji? Oh my god. Like, in this case, I get it. In this case, I get it because Sanji essentially needs to put on the act. That way he doesn't get his hands blown off. And indirectly, he's protecting Luffy. I totally understand that. But let's be real for a second. Can we appreciate the brilliance of what Eiichiro Oda is doing right now? Like, when you had Luffy versus Usopp, they were fighting because essentially Usopp had that strong connection to the growing Mary, and Usopp, he had that connection to Kaya. He had something in his past that was essentially making him double down on his current situation, and he and Luffy were at a crossroads. And like brothers, they had to fight in order to get things fixed. Now, when you look at Sanji, Sanji has a connection to his past, and he and Luffy are at a crossroads. Now, the difference is, it's like I said, Usopp was more so out of pride. Sanji is doing it more so out of love. Like, this is so brilliant. This is so brilliant what Oda's doing right here. I love what Oda's doing when he's setting this up. Oh my god, like, so Luffy just recovered from his fight with Crackers. So does this mean that if Sanji beats Luffy, that's because Luffy is fatigued? I love this idea of seeing one of the upper tier members of the Straw Hats actually go up against Luffy, because now we get an opportunity to see where Zoro and Luffy actually, or excuse me, now we get to see where Zoro and Sanji actually rank in a battle against Luffy. Now we get to get a positive rating for where the Straw Hats scale. So I love this part right here. I love this part a lot. But at the same time though, I think that Sanji is going to show us something different, okay? And the reason why I say that is when you go back to the Luffy versus Usopp fight, like, Usopp was doing a lot better than a lot of people, myself included, actually thought. And you had, I believe it was Zoro who said, well, of course Usopp's gotten stronger and he's gotten more creative. He's been fighting in the same battles just as we have. And when it comes to Sanji, Sanji's taking on some very dangerous people. So I love that you're actually seeing this. Like, one of my favorite Sanji moments is when Sanji was going on that train. I think he was fighting against Wands. This was right when they were trying to go to Annie's lobby to get Nico Robin back. And you had Sanji, and he gets on the train and starts fighting against the lower ranked members that were in not Doflamingo's crew, but in Rob Lucci's crew. So I thought that this was pretty cool. I thought that this was pretty cool that Oda set this up. Now, at the same time though, this is also making me wonder, are we actually going to see Nami versus Big Mom? And the reason why I say that is, like, Nami has that weather rod and she can kind of, you know, play with the weather and everything. And she trained on that, not that plane, I'm thinking Dragon Ball, but she trained on that island, I believe it was the Climate Island. And so Nami has some experience with that. And when you find out Big Mom not only has like the ability to use souls, but in her left hand she has the power of Zeus, in the right hand she has the power of Prometheus the sun. That's absolutely busted. That is absolutely busted what Big Mom has. But it looks like Nami is the one who can counter. And when you think about it, one of the things that you're seeing is, like, if this is the case, Oda's been setting up a Nami versus Big Mom fight for a really long time. Let's just look at the chronicling of this for a second, okay? So when Nami got that staff that could use like the different weather elements and everything, it was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And then she fights against Enel or Enryu, and that's on Skypiea. And you got a guy who is able to use lightning, and he's like a god, if you will. He's super overpowered. Nami had a brief moment where Nami stood up to him. Obviously, there's a huge gap in power, and Luffy ended up finishing the fight. But I think now we're seeing that moment where it's like Nami trained all throughout the time skip, and she's gotten more powerful, and she's got some really overpowered stuff that she can use with that climate baton. And so it'll be really interesting if Nami actually is the one who stands up against Big Mom. And another thing to consider on this is the fact that when you look at the character of Nami, okay, she has Lola's Vivre card, and we know that they say that not even Big Mom's children are supposed to know the power that it wields, and yet Nami has come into contact with it. So it's one of those things where there's enough stuff connecting them there to where if Nami actually stands up to Big Mom and does a half decent job, you can tell that Oda's been building that up for a while. So I mean, I'm fascinated with this possibility. I'm really fascinated by it. But let's be real for a second, okay? Let's be real for a second. Big Mom, she's got to be overpowered as hell just because she's one of the 4 emperors. She's got to be overpowered as hell. So I don't expect Nami to get the win, but I do think that you're going to have that moment where Luffy is going to be relying on Nami to come up with a way to counter Big Mom. So getting back into the chapter, because that Luffy versus Sanji thing just threw me off my rocker, okay? So I thought it was pretty interesting how you have that moment where Pound says like, oh, I'm sorry I ran away. I didn't think that you're actually going to win. And you get this moment where Nami's like, okay, we actually won. And I don't think that they fully understood that they've not only declared war on Big Mom going back to the events of Fishman Island, but they've essentially fired not the first shot, but they fired a series of shots, okay? And what's so crazy about this is like Big Mom's generals have arrived. So you have Katakuri and you have another person, I think it was Captain Smoothie. They show up. They show up on the island and everybody's like, well, where's General Cracker? Where's Cracker at? And almost on cue, Luffy just sends him flying right to Big Mom's doorstep. Like, that is so awesome. That is some straight G shit right there. I absolutely love that Luffy was ballsy like that. Granted, he did it indirectly, but I still like the fact that Luffy made me eat my words, because I was saying that, oh, Cracker's gonna beat Luffy. This is one of those times where, you know, you're just fighting someone who's just generally better. Luffy found a way to win. So that's gonna be so interesting to kind of see that aspect of it, okay? That's gonna be so interesting to see the fallout of it. Now, another thing I thought was pretty interesting is the fact that, you know, Gear 4 does take up a lot of Luffy's energy, but his metabolism is so high that even though Luffy gained like 900 pounds, Luffy begins to slim down very quickly. So I thought that was interesting. Even Nami's like, damn, I didn't realize that his body could shrink that quickly. So I mean, that's cool to kind of see that, you know, Luffy pulled one over on Nami as well. But when it comes to Sanji, when they decide to crash this dude's wedding, okay? Like, they're taking Sanji to meet up with Pudding. They're gonna exchange gifts and everything. You know, Sanji is looking, and as Luffy's like, yeah, you know, Zoro took a team over to Wano, and that's cool, but, you know, I couldn't wait. I know you said you're coming back, but I couldn't wait, man. So I had to come get you, and I started to come here by myself, but Nami insisted, then Brook insisted, then Carrot insisted, and Chopper insisted, and Brook insisted. So, I mean, we all just came here, and we're gonna bring you back. And you see Sanji just progressively, the heartbreak just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the last things he thinks about is the fact that if he tries to do anything, his hands are going to get blown off. And I like how Sanji just snaps into character. It's just like whatever Sanji was thinking about before then, the sight of Luffy has thrown this dude off. Like, I don't buy into what he's saying, like, oh, you know, I'll be happy as being in Big Mom's family with a beautiful wife and royalty and riches. I'm part of the Vinsmoke family. You immeasurable pirates, get the hell away from me. That's how I didn't buy into any of that stuff. I didn't buy into it one bit. However, I do like the idea that once again we're seeing more conflict here. So I thought that this was a good use of conflict with what Oda did. And I like how you have that line where Sanji says, no, brother, stay back. I'll drive him off myself. And you see Luffy's pissed. Like, Luffy's like, what the fuck is going on right now? But I want to know from you guys. Like, what are your thoughts personally on Luffy taking out one of Big Mom's generals, okay? So taking out Cracker this early on in the fight. And what are your thoughts on my idea that Nami's gonna play a huge role in bringing down Big Mom? Do you think that I was reaching too much there? What were your thoughts when you first read this chapter in the manga? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.